even though Republican candidates are all having mistresses and fourth and fifth wives, they don't care because in the long run, and they're correct, it serves their interests to have these people in power. But we're worse than evangelicists. We're worse than, evangelicals. We're worse than them. We don't even do that. We can't even project our fantasy desires in a slightly pragmatic way. And I think, and this is my secret suspicion, I think that's because evangelicals do believe in the rapture, but Twitter leftist ML types, they don't believe in the revolution. Yeah. It's an aesthetic to them that they use to find friends online and to make jokes about, but personally, privately, they don't think it's ever going to happen. And for that reason, they don't
have any intention of participating.
Yeah, they don't feel it's not a true belief to them. And for that reason, they have no obligation to pragmatism. It's a kink. It's an aesthetic flourish. It's a hat, and that's it.
What do you think about so there's another version, because I agree that this is pretty useless. There's the useless revolutionary ideation where you're not doing anything, you're just kind of have this aesthetic of, or you sort of imagine yourself, I don't know, carrying the hammer and sickle over the White House lawn. It is a fun thought, but then there's also this accelerationist stuff where it's oh, actually we want Trump to be president, we want things to get worse, we want things to be as bad as possible so that the revolution happens.
These people are counter-revolutionary.
It's a deranged gamble with the lives of the most vulnerable people in this country, is how it seems to me. And it also I also don't think that's correct. Is a socialist revolution more likely to happen under fascism? Is there any evidence historically to support that?
The idea of accelerationism has been corrupted massively. Economic accelerationism, like striking, is phenomenal, incredibly useful. Worker solidarity, great. Political accelerationism, however, is counter-revolutionary. Vladimir Lenin worked within electoral politics and even allied with liberals whenever it was in a great. Accelerationism, like striking, is phenomenal, incredibly useful. Worker solidarity, great. Political accelerationism, however, is counter-revolutionary. Vladimir Lenin worked within electoral politics and even allied with liberals whenever it was expedient for him to help beat back conservatives, monarchists, and fascists. Mao Zedong would work with bourgeois liberals in the Chinese countryside if it meant being able to fight off colonial oppressors. At every point in history, successful leftist revolutionaries have known there is a thing worse than liberalism. It is to the right of liberalism, it is fascism, it is monarchism, it is colonialism, and that under those conditions, socialism is far harder to fight for. So we preserve bourgeois liberalism because we must set up our own enemy. It's in the writing. These people, they say, read theory, read theory. I read the theory. It's all right there.
Yeah, so where is this notion coming from that we need to that it's better to have a fascist in power so that people, well, I don't know, people seem to have this idea that oh, one thing that's really exciting about Trump being president is that now people are politically engaged. I think that's an idea that I see floated a lot, often in conjunction with the idea that liberals only care when Trump is president, and liberals will go to sleep if Biden's president. But what I don't understand about this is liberals are not calling for revolution, not even under Trump, right? Not a socialist revolution, or they wouldn't be liberals.
Yeah. Hey, why did Bernie Sanders get more support in 2016 than he did in 2020? Why didn't 4 years of Trump make Democrats more amicable towards socialism?
I think I heard you made this point on another stream, which is that what you're seeing is a wave of liberals very enthusiastically demanding anyone but Trump, which they will happily vote for Biden. They'll happily vote for someone worse than Biden. I would vote for someone worse than Biden to get Trump out.
Yeah, Bloomberg is infinitely preferable to Trump still, even though he's a fucking monster. He's still better than what Trump represents.
Yeah, so I think that I don't think that what you're seeing under Trump, I don't think the unrest that you're seeing is socialist unrest. It's anti-Trump unrest, anti-fascist unrest. But I don't think that's the same as I don't think that's getting you a more leftist politics.
Yeah, it's material.
People seem to think it is.
It's material conditions. It's simple Marxist math. People will act in ways which they believe best represent their own interests. When you believe
Right.
you're on the precipice of fascism, your goal is to prevent that at any cost, not to take a risk on a more radical left-leaning ideology. The main reason people voted for Biden was for electability. That was the main reason people voted Biden. There were polls. It was more than 50%. People get woken up, sure, but not to the ends we want. We want people to wake up because they're disillusioned with the Democrats, not terrified of the Republicans. Terror of the Republicans drives people into Pelosi's bosom. We want people who were disappointed under Obama, who campaigned for Obama, but are now disappointed with him, turning towards more radical solutions. That is what we want. But we can't do that if the source of all of these issues, at least optically, is Trump. We can't make that argument.
Yeah, I tweeted the other day something along the lines of like, oh, it was under, people think that, oh, we'll just go back to sleep under Biden. People didn't go to sleep under Obama. Like, it was Obama that gave us the Bernie Sanders movement. It was Obama's administration and people's disillusionment with that. They gave us like Occupy Wall Street and which is arguably the beginning of what is like today's leftist movement. And I know people say like, oh, well, Occupy Wall Street didn't do anything. It's like, well, it's a far left protest movement. Like it's done as much as any of those have in recent years in this country. And like the point is still that it's like we don't really have an equivalent of Occupy Wall Street under Trump. What we have is massive unrest about the brutal policing. But like, I don't know. I just feel like there's a strange conflation of the unrest that is sort of distinctive to the Trump years and like leftist involvement.
Protests function best when you can chant the phrase, "You failed us." But nobody ever expected Trump to go up to bat for workers. So these protests ring hollow under Trump.
Right.
Obama at least made some weak gesturing at equality. Whatever. I don't like Obama. But I think ultimately what you deal with here, and this is the ultimate problem, is that a lot of the people who are these crazy online anti-electoralists today weren't politically active during the Obama years. These people got into politics in 2016, so their perspective is warped. To them, everything pre-2016 is the exact same expanse of neoliberal nothingness, and now suddenly politics and history begins. But that is not how that works. So, yeah, it's very frustrating. I feel like it's such a juvenile perspective, but the people who encourage this, the content creators, are older than me. So, where is that coming from?
They began political consciousness in 2016, so they assume everyone else did.
Oh, I would say so. The content creators or the people watching?
Yeah, the content creators.
I think that what I'm throwing shade on Chapo Trap House here. They've been politically active for a long time, but they certainly fucking act like they achieved political consciousness back in 2016. I just don't know. The only thing I can think to be done about this is that we have to bully these people. Like, we have to bully the shit out of these people. Yeah. They think it's really cool to be doomer, edgy, contrarians. We need to, and we have a lot of people who follow us. You are a very large channel. I'm getting there. Come on. And
I think the two of us are on the same page about the anti-doomer, edgy contrarianism, because it's so useless.
I don't want to be the smuggest guy in the mass grave. I don't care. That's not fun to me. That's not socialism to me.
Yeah, well, I think that's like, I think that is like part of the issue that I do feel myself where I'm sort of not communicating with some people online is like, I really do care and want things to get better, and I'm willing to do anything that I feel like I can to help things get better. Some people involved in this conversation, including some people very high profile involved in this conversation, I get this sense that what they want to do is be right publicly. And they want to be the one to spot what's wrong with everything, right? Including what's wrong with the candidate. They want to be sort of above it all, but being above it all is like, so that's not politics.
No, it's not. Politics is getting your hands dirty.
With like leftist veneer.
Yeah. No. Yeah, I completely agree. You can't. Distancing yourself from political outcomes, is the opposite of good politics. You want to be invested in what happens, and that means championing people you don't like at times. The investment is what keeps you connected to the whole process.
Isn't all politics like less, like people say like, oh, no more lesser evilism, but like all politics is lesser evilism.
That's all ethics.
Yeah. like I'm sorry to tell to bring it to people, but even if you get your socialist state, like you're gonna have your socialist leaders who suck, also. Like because people suck, right? There's never gonna come a time
People don't.
when the
This is
lead, yeah,
internally contradictory. Bernie
yeah,
Sanders proposes social democracy. Social democrats are historically enemies of the revolution because they attempt to placate the proletariat with concessions from the bourgeois. If these people had any consistency, they would have said, I'm not voting for Bernie Sanders. He represents lesser evilism. I will not vote for somebody unless they are a true Marxist-Leninist like me. But
right.
they were willing to vote for Bernie Sanders, not because they have consistent principles, but because they liked him and they don't like Biden. But that, liking something, is not an ethical judgment. That is a judgment of personal aesthetic preference.